Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective podcast. My name's Nathaniel and I'm joined yet again by my good friend Matt. How are you doing today?
Very good, Nathaniel. Yeah, all good here, mate. Yeah, how are you? You all okay?
Yeah, doing fine and well despite the horrific storm weather outside. It's pretty grim up here in the UK.
It's shit. It is just rain coming in sideways, wind blowing a gale. It's going to end up like the Wizard of Oz with just like houses taking off at any point, I'm pretty sure.
Just like some hockey this week, I guess. Shall we get straight on into our first division?
Yeah, let's dive right in, mate.
Cool. We're going to start in the Metro today in the Eastern Conference. The first team overall at the moment is still the Carolina Hurricanes on 69 points. Giggity. Record of 32, 15 and 5. Sat on a plus 30, plus minus. They've had 3 games this week. Wins against the Sabres 2-1 and the Senators 4-1 before losing a shootout to your Blackhawks. Yeah. Chicago in a shootout, no chance.
Come on now. Look, yeah, I mean, I want Carolina just to lose every game for the rest of the season, so they finish on that very nice points total. But yeah, look, they've been great again and again. Like, you know, I've been kind of singing this guy's praises all season, but Bussy, he is just absolutely right. And I know he doesn't start every game. I know he kind of rotates in and out with Freddie Anderson. But this guy, he's got like 19 wins from like 23 starts this season, which is just like you can't ignore that. You know, I mean, it's not going to get him kind of any Vezina considerations. You know, he doesn't start enough games, but I still think that's one of the best stories of the season. By all accounts, he's looking at negotiating a new contract, and fair play to him. He deserves the money off of this season. And cash in on yourself while your stock's high. But yeah, the Carolina Hurricanes with 5 points from 6 available. You know, as far as they're considered, probably quite a reasonable schedule with the Sabres, the Blackhawks, and the Senators. Svechnikov and Jarvis kind of chipping in with 3 points apiece across those. Keeps them well out ahead on top of this division. They've got the Mammoth, the Capitals, and the Kings coming up. So again, not really, you know, going to battle with any of the other division leaders, but you know, a couple of banana skins there maybe, but games that I think Carolina can definitely win.
Yeah. I think it's a simple case. They win when the Bussy plays, and they struggle a bit more when Anderson plays. But yeah, look, they're a solid team. They're just a well-constructed roster. We're saying the same thing week in, week out with this team. There's never any really drama. They get the results done. They're solidly defensively. They're solid in attack. There's no great big like points gatherers. Aho's on 52 points in 52 games, so he's a point per game. But after that, there's no other point per games, but they still just keep winning. Son of a great team.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean that's it. They've been brilliant, haven't they?
Yeah. We'll move on then into the second place team in this division. Up a spot this time, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. The renaissance is still ongoing for Crosby and Malkin when he plays. They've had 4 games this week, 4 games on the road to the Kraken, Flames, Oilers and Canucks. So this sort of West Coast, not Western Canadian kind of road trip. But they've won every single game, Matt. 6-3 against the Kraken, 4-1 Flames, 6-2 with the Oilers and 3-2 against the Canucks. So it's a season jump up.
Yeah, absolutely. They've leapfrogged the Islanders into second place in that division, and you know the Pittsburgh Penguins hit a massive milestone this week. We say every week we're not ones for kind of pointless stats, but I just think it's worth mentioning that Crosby, Malkin, and Chris Letang played their 1000th game together as a trio. I mean, those 3 guys are just. I mean, obviously Malkin and Crosby, you know, go without saying, but I think Chris Letang always kind of falls into the background a little bit when you look at those two, and you think, you know, he's been such a pillar of those Stanley Cup winning teams, and you know, he's battled through so much, you know, physically as well. I think he's had 2 strokes now, but still managing to turn up, sort of, you know, week in, week out, still being effective at the age he's at. But this Pittsburgh team's on an absolute roll. You know, great week for Malkin, great week for Crosby and Justin Brazeau's kind of getting back in amongst the points, and Anthony Mantha's done well. And shout out to Jack St. Ivany, who's chipped in with 4 assists in 4 games as well. He did leave that Canucks game with an injury, but yes, St. Ivany, what a hero.
Yeah, it sounds like a suburb of Boston more than a defenseman for Pittsburgh. I just think that Krista Tang as well, just going back onto that, I don't know why she came into my head, but I love it when these things do. But I sort of see Crosby and Malkin as Scooby and Shaggy, and you got poor Fred off in the background, who's actually the leader of the pack, who probably organised everything and never gets all the credit, never gets any credit.
Yeah, just splitting up and looking for clues.
Yeah, exactly.
Good old number 58. Love it.
One thing I wanted to touch on with this Pittsburgh team is Skinner is doing really well for Pittsburgh, and I think they absolutely won that trade with the Oilers.
Yeah, they did. It was really regarded at the time, wasn't it, as kind of like, it kind of seemed like a whole lot of nothing, really, didn't it? It's like you're exchanging one kind of defective goaltender for another defective goaltender, and changes of scenery for both, but. Skinner, as I can't remember who said it this week, but Stuart Skinner's turned into Dominic Hasek this week, and he's on an absolute roll at the moment. Big Stu.
Yeah. So they're on 63 points to Penguins, so they are still some distance behind Carolina. But as we get further into this division, they really are separating themselves out from 4th place, really. So. Who'd have thought it? The Penguins in the playoffs, maybe.
Yeah, wild.
We'll see. Speaking of the Islanders, down a spot this week into 3rd is that team. They're on 61 points, record 28, 19 and 5 on a +4. They've had a mixed bag week, in all honesty. They started off with an away game in Vancouver, which they won 4-3. They then lost to the Kraken 4-1. They then went home to play Buffalo, the Sabres, and I did watch that game. Now, they lost that game 5-0, and let me tell you, that was not a 5-0 loss. They were in that game just as much as the Sabres were. It's just somehow how these things happen. But they set things to rights when they went back away to Philly, playing the Flyers, and beat them 4-0. So what do you think about the Islanders week?
Yeah, the hockey gods have come back around, haven't they? Obviously, they got that 9-0 victory the other week, didn't they? And that probably wasn't a 9-0 win. They were, outplayed for quite large portions of that game. But it's all come back around against the Sabres. But then to follow it up 2 days later with a 4-0 shootout victory as well. Sorokin getting another one there. He's on 6 shutouts for the season. He's having a great year.
For my fantasy team as well.
Yeah. Look, he's playing well. The Islanders are doing just enough, I think, to keep themselves hanging in there and doing well. They've got back-to-backs coming up against the Rangers on the 28th and the 29th, so that'll be a really interesting sort of back-to-back. Obviously, a good rivalry there. And then they're at home to the Predators on the 31st. So, I think you look at those games. I think if the Islanders really want to sort of assert themselves into this playoff conversation and solidify that, I think, they need to go out and, pick up at least sort of 4 points minimum, really. 4 or 5 would be a great return.
Yeah. I think they've got it in them. Even when they're losing, they don't seem to get their heads down. They're a decent squad, decent roster. Got Matty Schaefer now second in the team in scoring, albeit that's because Berhovat's been out for a significant amount of time. But this team has got potential, has got promise. Things are coming together. They've got solid goaltending. So I think it's a bit exciting times if you're an Islanders fan.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of they're emerging out of that sort of purgatory area that they were in before, and it'd be good for the Islanders to make a playoff run.
Absolutely. There we go. So, sorry, my cat's just jumped on the laptop again. So instead of jumping on me, it just jumped straight up onto the desk, straight onto the laptop. So I'm just making sure everything.
I'll lead us into the next one then. So down 4 points, sat in 4th place. Up 1 spot from last week is the Philadelphia Flyers. They've played 4 games. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights 2-1. lost in OT against the Mammoth 5-4 before beating the Colorado Avalanche at the Colorado Avalanche 7-3 before that 4-0 loss to the Islanders. So yeah, a little bit of an up and down week again for Philly. Obviously getting that terrific road victory against the Islanders and then returning home and laying a bit of an egg there.
Yeah. This team is up and down. I know they've got more points than the Islanders this week, but I just think this team is a bit more inconsistent performances. They're really missing Dan Vladar in goal. Urson is okay, but when he has a bad night, he seems to have a very bad night. That win against the Avalanche, though, I will say that in Colorado, beating them 7-3, obviously Colorado maybe taking the foot off the gas slightly, maybe, but I don't know. I think that is a standout performance.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm not sure how long Vladar's expected to be out for. Maybe you know, but they're kind of in that wild card chase. The Islanders aren't uncatchable. I do think if they do want to make a push, they might have to go out and get some goaltending help, maybe just to kind of take a bit of the pressure off of Urson a little bit, because he's playing every single game at the moment, and he has some decent nights, but like you said, when he's bad, he's bad. And shells a whole ton of goals. So they potentially could be in the market maybe for a backup goaltender, or someone on a reasonable sort of cheap deal, I reckon. But yeah, they're certainly not out of it just yet.
Yeah, Vladar's day to day, so I think his return is fairly imminent. So that's probably good news for them. They got away games against the Blue Jackets and the Bruins, and then they're at home against the Kings. So again, it's a wait and see for this team. I'm ready for them to either make a move up or make a move down, just like they have been all year. They seem to be flip-flopping.
Yeah.
Third to fifth is where they normally sit at the moment.
Pretty much, yeah. They've just kind of like bounced between those spots all year, more or less.
Yeah. A team that's still not kicking into gear, really, is the Washington Capitals. They're down a spot in fifth on 57 points. 25, 21 and 7, starting at plus 11. They're in the middle of a long road trip at the moment, which hasn't really seen them get many points, in all honesty. They lost against the Avalanche 5-2, then lost a stinker against the Canucks 4-3. They did beat the Calgary Flames 3-1, and then lost in overtime to the Edmonton Oilers. So, again, this is a team that should be doing better than what they are doing, but they're just sort of stuck in that mid-table purgatory.
Yeah, they are. And yeah, they'll have been really disappointed with that loss to the Canucks. I mean, kind of anyone losing to that roster at the moment is probably going to have to hang their head through it. But yeah, they ended up kind of rebounding, in that victory against the Flames, and going to OT against the Oilers is, they'll have been reasonably happy, I imagine, taking a point out of that. But they've got the Kraken and the Red Wings coming up to round out their away stint, before they then return home to face the Carolina Hurricanes. So division leaders, not going to be an easy game for them. Obviously the Red Wings as well are on an absolute tear at the moment, and the Kraken have been fairly reasonable as well. So yeah, like you said, they're a team we're kind of waiting to see make a move. Again, they're not a million miles away from sort of playoff contention, but I think they just need to kind of find that next gear and just try and sort of push as much as they can. I don't know if they're going to be that active around the trade deadline, or if they're going to kind of stay put with what they've got. But yeah, I think they're definitely a team that needs to find the next level.
Yep, they do. Move on then into the sixth place team in this division. The New Jersey Devils sat on 56 points now, upper spot, 27, 23 and 2 the record, so on minus 21 plus minus. But they've had a bit of a bounce back week. They are also on a sort of a Western Canadian road trip against the Flames, Oilers, Canucks and then the Kraken. But 3 wins, 1 in overtime and then a loss to the Kraken 4-2, so they've done alright this week.
Yeah, they have, and a big week as well for Cody Glass, getting 3 goals, 2 assists as well. Dougie Hamilton getting a goal and 4 assists, and Jack Hughes kind of back up to that point per game level that we'd seen earlier on in the season. But yeah, a bit of a bounce back week for them, really. Picking up 6 points from 8, really impressive. They've just set themselves too much to do, though, for me. They've just, they're 5 points out from a playoff spot at the moment, and I just think they're too inconsistent. They're not kind of solid enough. They've got the Jets, the Predators, and the Senators coming up, so some games there that if they win those 3, then maybe the conversation shifts a little bit. But I just can't really see it at the moment with New Jersey. I think that Hughes injury, I think, has hit them a bit too hard, and it just put them in a really, really negative position.
Yeah, especially with how strong this Atlantic division is. The Atlantic might get the 2 wildcard spots, as opposed to the Metro. So they got to sort of dig deep and make a move. I mean, I think the Islanders and the Penguins are probably in the 2nd and 3rd, just out of a bit more consistency. They haven't been flashy by any means, but they've just been getting the results they've done, whereas the teams like the Capitals and the Devils, who we probably expect to see in the 2nd and 3rd spots, have been more like shooting themselves in the foot rather than anything else. So it's just like, it might be a case of that one of these teams, the Capitals or the Devils, pulls it together, goes on the run and figures it out and replaces either one of the Islanders or the Penguins later down the year, and it might be actually a really close cat and mouse game towards the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely could be. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Right. I think there's a bit of a gap then between, maybe not in points totals, but maybe in terms of expectations. In 7th place, down a spot, is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're on 55 points, so only a point behind the Devils. They've had three games this week, losing against the Senators 4-1, beat the Dallas Stars 1-0. I love it when this kind of thing happens. They win a really close match against like somebody like 1-0, and you think, right, that's the kind of team they are. They're gritty, they pull out the wins, Jet Greaves gets a shutout, and then they go and play the Tampa Bay Lightning, and yes, they win the game, but 8-5.
Yeah.
So,
hockey's it's a crazy sport. But, look, again, they'll have been disappointed with that loss to the Senators, but pulling out 2 victories against the Stars and the Lightning is incredibly impressive for this team. Mason Marchment's got 3 goals and an assist during that time, and, he's been a really good acquisition for them and seems to have settled in well over there. That game against the Lightning was just pure chaos, and might be a bit of a teaser for our first segment. I think in terms of expectations, I think you're right. I don't know if this is a team that are expecting to make the playoffs or not. If they can click everything together, they may have a shot at a wild card spot. But I don't know. Again, I think they're a team that kind of sleepwalked their way through the first half of the season and left themselves with kind of everything to do. Going into the kind of crunch period now as we move towards the Olympic break and the trade deadline and the tail end of the season.
Yeah, I just think they've had a new coach bump, which has been good for them. Where this team goes in future, they're also at another pivotal point in their sort of franchise history. It's still a young team, Columbus, same age as the Minnesota Wild, but there were some down years. Obviously, they signed Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan. That sort of lifted things. They had a really good year. And then, obviously, the tragic news for Gaudreau a couple of years ago. And they had a really good year last year. And then this year, it's kind of just sort of petered off a bit back to sort of the Blue Jackets we kind of know. And it's like, well, it's crunch time now. You need to dig out of this sort of slump that they've been in, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They just need to put together a bit of consistency, and the system that new coach seems to have implemented it seems to be having some positive effect. But yeah, it's going to require everyone to step up, play their part, and a wildcard spot may potentially be on the cards, but I think it's looking less likely than at the moment as things stand.
Yeah. Right. We'll touch on the last team, and I don't suggest we deep dive them too much, but the New York Rangers reached the bottom of this division, 50 points. They've had 4 games this week. The LA road trip, as I like to dub it. But they lost to the Ducks, lost to the Kings, lost to the Sharks, and then for some reason, because they have to be somewhat interesting, they beat the Bruins in overtime 4-3. But I got nothing. About this team really.
No, I think the only kind of point of interest with the Rangers at the moment is when things are going to start happening. In terms of the roster shake-up, who's going to go, what's the return going to be, what do they get back? That's the kind of only thing I'm particularly interested in with the Rangers at the moment, because they're far from interesting on the ice at the moment.
Yeah. If and when any trades happen, I think that's when we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
For me.
Yep, that works for me.
Right. We'll just touch on the segment then, before we move on into the next division. This is one coming from you, so I don't know if you want to lead off on it.
Yeah, Cheeks of the Week. You raised a very good point with this. Cheeks of the Week is going to Jet Greaves for a particular moment against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, yes, I know they won the game. I know Vasilevsky had a bit of a howler on the other end, so maybe it's a bit of a joint award this week for those two in that game. But one sort of play in particular, the puck kind of slides through to Greaves, who has it on his stick. And in a moment of whether he's just not concentrating, whether it be a lack of communication, he plays the puck directly off of his own player's skate, right in front of the goal, and it just slides into the net. An absolute horror show of a goal to concede. Fortunately, it didn't play kind of too much of a role, as they ended up winning the game, and he was the better goaltender on the night. But in terms of Cheeks of the Week for a particular play being just absolute ass, Jet Greaves took it there for me.
Yeah, can't argue more from that. I do think we do need to make a switch from. We seem to just lambast every single keeper one way or the other for this segment. The poor keepers, that they can either be the heroes or the anti-heroes, really.
Villain? Is that the word
the
you're
villain?
looking for?
That's. I've just got such a positive mindset, Matt, that the term villain never comes into my head.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I use some other unchoice words for villains. Right, moving on then. We're going to stay in the Eastern Conference, specifically the Atlantic Division now. First overall in this division remains the Tampa Bay Lightning, set on 70 points, a record of 33, 14 and 4, sat on a plus 49, juggernaut team for me. But they played 5 games, they've had a busy week this week, winning 4 of them, and then the only losses coming into that wild game against the Blue Jackets. So, thoughts on Tampa?
Yeah, juggernaut, as you said. Actually, just need to rectify my previous comments on Cheeks of the Week there. It wasn't Vasilevsky who played in that game against Columbus, it was Johansson. So apologies there to Andrei Vasilevsky, talking smack about him there. He actually had a very good week, actually. He was above 900, above 940 even, in all the games he played, and he recorded a shutout in their victory against the Mammoth. So it could not be less cheeks from Vasilevsky in terms of his performances this week. Johansson, on the other hand, not great from his one game played, but yeah, look, this team's an absolute mammoth. They're just, Kucherov's absolutely going off at the moment. Cirelli, Gensel, Hagel, like they're all, and this is a team as well that is so banged up. We are really seeing the elite nature of John Cooper's coaching. He's the best coach in the NHL for me, and I just think that how he's able to get everyone just playing so perfectly within his system. It doesn't matter if it's Braden Point, or if it's if he's missing, it's someone they call up from the AHL and they just slot right into the system. And yeah, it's just absolutely absolute credit to him. But yeah, terrific for them. They've got a couple of home games coming up against the Jets and the Bruins. More of the same for me, I think. This team's on a roll.
Yeah, Kucherov exploded this week with 2 goals and 8 assists. Like, they get points from all their players, but like as you say, the injuries. Like, they've had injuries to the forwards, fair enough, but they're doing this without several of their top 4 defensemen. It's not even like top 6 defensemen. The Hedman isn't playing. McDonough isn't playing. Yeah, who else is it that isn't playing? Let me just do a quick check, because it is extremely impressive that they're doing this. No Lilleberg, no Diastras. Obviously, they're doing it without Braden Point at the moment, and they're just steamrolling teams, like the winning team, like 2-0 against the Mammoth, 4-1 against the Stars and the Sharks, who both teams are doing well this year. I mean, it took your Blackhawks to a shootout, shock horror. But yeah, and then even against the Blue Jackets, like they're scoring 5 goals, so it's that should have been a game that they potentially should have won. But yeah, it's top team.
Yeah. Nothing else to say really. They're just they're phenomenal.
Yep. The second place team, just behind them, are 69 points again, Matt? The Detroit Red Wings, 32-16-5. It's a team that just won't go away. They're keeping up with Tampa somehow. I think they played a few more games in Tampa though, so I think time will come with that. But they've had 4 games. They've been to overtime 3 times, winning 2 of them against the Senators and the Maple Leafs. They lost to my Wild and then beat the Winnipeg Jets 5-1 as well. So they're still cracking on.
Yeah, they are, and they're tied 3rd in the overall league standings. They've got more points than Minnesota, more points than Dallas. They've been absolutely sensational this year, and it's just it's been they've been a really good team to watch, which kind of pains me a little bit. But they're well coached. They've got a good roster. Their goaltending's good enough, and they just keep rolling on, and I think things are starting to get a bit. People in Detroit starting to get a bit more excited, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone's been sat waiting, and when's it going to happen? When is the fall off going to happen? And it is seemingly not happening. My main concern for this Detroit team is that they seem to scrape out wins very well, and that might be a positive or it might be a negative, but it's also an untested team in the playoff situation. Like you put them up against Tampa and you think, oh, come on, in a 7-game series, I can see Tampa winning 4-0 even. But
yeah,
it's again, can you really complain from what we've seen from this Red Wings team for God knows how long? So I think feel good vibes, even though I don't quite trust them.
No, I wouldn't trust them as far as the playoffs go, but certainly their regular season performance this year has been been terrific.
Yeah. Now, this was a division with kind of like the top 3 teams, but this is sort of doing a 1A and 1B kind of level now, because in 3rd place is the
You having to check your eyes to make sure that they're that you are seeing exactly what you're seeing. That
they're calibrated correctly. I mean, I thought it was Montreal. I just did our template not just before we finished started recording, so I should know about all of this. But so I went to Montreal, and they're not in 3rd. So I went to the Bruins, and I thought, oh, they're not in 3rd either. Well, who's in 3rd place in this division right now? And guess what, Matt? It's the Buffalo Sabres.
I know. Like, who'd have thought? Just what a sensational team they've been. The last few months, 3 wins and a loss on the week. A 2-1 loss against the Carolina Hurricanes. Kind of is what it is. But then beating the Predators, the Habs. That was a great game, and obviously had so much implication tied into it as well. And then getting that 5-0 victory against the Islanders as well, just absolutely. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Stuff from them. This Buffalo team could well be playoff bound. Certainly, maybe if not through their own sort of divisional placings, and maybe within sort of a wild card spot. And I just never would have seen that happening. So yeah, massive credit to the backroom staff and everything that they've changed around there. But then, also credit to the players on the ice for going out there and getting it done. You've got Zucker with 4 points in those 4 games. You got Peyton Krebs with 2 goals and 2 assists. Hellenius with a goal and 3 assists. Samuelson with 4 assists. Just they've just been absolutely brilliant recently, and all on the road as well. They wrap up their road trip tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs before returning home to face the Kings and the Habs again. So a couple of really big games coming up for them, but I think it could be on for them.
Yeah, and this is a chant we've fallen in. Well, maybe not us personally, as in terms of recording this podcast, but this is what this Buffalo team does. They get people excited at this time of the year, only to fall off and not make the playoffs at the end of it. I feel this year might be different. Things have changed seemingly since they've had a change in the general manager and all the background team as well. So I'm not sure how much of a direct impact they're having, but I think they got Josh Stone signed. They're performing well. They've had a big long winning streak. They've lost a few games here and there, but look at them now. They're 63 points. They're well in a run here. Plus 17. That they might actually be a good team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're all waiting to be let down by them, but at the moment the arrow's pointing upwards, and I think they're just kind of trying to keep it going as much as they can.
Yeah. So we'll then go on to the fourth place team. Now, I know who it is because I've checked this just a few minutes ago, but it is the Montreal Canadiens, down a spot, also on 63 points. I think due to the fact the Sabres have played more games and they've lost to the Sabres this week, the Canadiens have dropped a spot. They beat my Wild 4-3, they lost against the Sabres, and they lost 4-3 against the Boston Bruins. So 2 points out of 6 games, sees them on a 28, 17 and 7 record, on a +2. Goaltending, I think, is the question mark around this Montreal Canadiens team. A lot like the other young team that we like in the Anaheim Ducks. It's their goaltending defence that they're struggling, I think.
Yeah, and look, they've got no problem scoring goals. Cole Caulfield's been brilliant this year, and he got another 5 this week. And Suzuki's got another 5 points. Hudson's got 3 points. Matheson's got 3 points this week. So they've got no problems generating offense. But again, it's Dobesh, it's Montembeault, it's Fowler at times as well. I know he hasn't played this week, but I think the goaltending's been letting him down, and for everything that you do get from Lane Hudson offensively, and I do think that as his career progresses, he will be a really, really premium offensive defenseman. But he is still a defenseman, and he will have to learn to defend at some point if he really wants to be sort of up there with the best. And I think that's just where they struggle. I think defensively and in goal especially. They've got the Golden Knights, the Avalanche and the Sabres coming up. So that's going to be no easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. And could potentially see some quite high scoring games there, I think, with some sort of juggernaut offences squaring off.
Yeah. I still like this team, even though they're a bit up and down, and they're not necessarily the finished product. I don't find them frustrating to watch. I find them exciting to watch. It's always a good game in Montreal.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yes, they're still a team I love watching for the kind of excitement factor. But they're just a bit sort of frail defensively, I think. But always guarantees goals nonetheless.
Yeah. I still think that they've seemed to have dropped off from Camp Fowler again, playing Montembeault a few more times. I don't know whether there's a minimum games he must hit in his contract that if he's fit and healthy, they must play Montembeault. But when you got Dobesh playing well, Camp Fowler's a good young goaltender. Blood him through a bit more maybe, but yeah.
Yeah. I think there's certainly an option. It's Jacob Fowler, isn't it? Cam Fowler plays on the Blues now.
Yes.
It's all right. We've all done it. We've all done it.
We've all done it. I mean, you thought Vasilevsky was Johansson, so
well, yeah, absolutely. At least you got the last name right. But yes, yeah, Jacob Fowler.
Could have named an EastEnders character, but anyway.
I would love to see them sort of give him a bit of a bit more time. He's looked pretty reasonable when he's played. So I don't know if Montembeault has kind of incriminating pictures of the management or something that he's threatening to release if he doesn't play. But he's he's just got just got pictures of Martin St. Louis in the shower or something that he's going to release to the police or something like that if he doesn't play. But yeah, no idea.
Well, I've heard Vegas needs another goaltender, so maybe he can.
Christ, yeah.
So
well, everyone gets traded to Vegas, so you wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule anything out with that team at this point. But still, it's going to be an interesting jostle between them and the Sabres. Looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Fifth place in this division, down a spot, is the aforementioned Boston Bruins. Now, the reason it's sort of confusing because they're also on 63 points, so very close division at this point. They've got a record of 30, 20, and 3, starting at plus 11. They played 4 games this week. They started off with a loss against the Dallas Stars 6-2, but then they beat the Golden Knights 4-3. They beat the Canadiens 4-3, and then had a really frustrating. I watched a bit of this game last night against the New York Rangers, and they lost it in overtime, and you just leave you scratching your head. Pasternak could just not get a goal in that game, really. He was firing pucks left, right, and centre.
Yeah, it just wasn't his night, was it? It was, it was a tough one for him. I mean, he's still got 8 points on the week, with a goal and 7 assists for him. So Geeky with another couple of goals as well. He's one shy of hitting the 30-goal mark this season, which again is
Geeky
great
for Richard. Geeky for Richard.
I think that's died now. Might be Baldy for Richard, but
He's got more than Baldy now as Geeky.
Oh, has he overtaken him? Has he? No, it's back on.
Yeah, Baldy's been out.
On.
Yeah, it's back on. All we need is an injuries too, and then instantly names like 5 to 6 players ahead of him.
Yeah.
If McDavid gets injured, if McKinnon gets injured, if Celebrini gets injured, if Baldy continues to be injured, then Geeky for Richard.
Yeah. It's there's an alternate universe somewhere where all of that happens and he does win it, and that's would be absolutely massive scenes. But chipping in with 6 assists this week as well. So not just a goal scorer. He's got 29 goals, 19 assists on the season. So 48 points in 52 games, which I think is a great return for him. But again, another team on 63 points. They've got the Predators, the Flyers, and the Lightning on the road coming up. So interested to see how that goes for the Bruins. It does certainly sound like they're a team making a lot of calls, looking to add something to the roster ahead of the trade deadline. So they'll definitely be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Now, it's a bit of a gap. The Florida Panthers are in 6th place. They're up a spot on 59 points. Record of 28, 20 and 3. So pretty much identical record, just play a few games less. On a -8, they've had an interesting week. They lost pretty much every type of result you can have. They lost to the Sharks 4-1. They beat the Jets in a shootout, beat the Wild in overtime, and then beat your Blackhawks 5-1. So this is a good team in a really, really top division, I feel.
Yeah. They've got difficult competition around them. Obviously, a lot of teams playing very well, and I'm not going to sort of talk about all the injuries and everything again for another week consecutively. They're a little bit out of it at the moment. There is potentially scope for them to make it back, but it's going to be tough for them. I just don't really know with this team. They've got the Mammoth, the Blues, and the Jets coming up. So some games that could be won again if they pick up another 3 wins, and it puts them on a 6-game winning streak. And again, maybe the conversation changes with a team like Florida. But right at this moment, I'm struggling to see where they fit into the playoff picture. But maybe that's exactly what this team needs to refresh and go again.
Yeah. Before last night's games, I saw a tweet. I should have written down who it was and give credit for it, but this is not my own research, I will add. This Panthers team could be the first team since 1992 or 1993 that, due to the way the conferences and the playoff system set up, they could be in essentially the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, but not to make the playoffs, as it were. So we have each division has obviously the 3 teams that go through, and then 2 wildcard teams that can come from either division. They could be a team with so many points where if they were in the other division, they'd have been in the top 3 in the Metro, is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, there's still some time left to go in the season. They might not actually break that fake statistic, but it just goes to show how strong the Atlantic is and compared to the Metro in terms of points total.
Yeah, definitely, and that's really interesting. I hadn't seen that, so so like I said, still some time to go, but yeah, we'll see what happens with them, I think.
Yeah. Right. Another team that we kind of wait and see on is the Toronto Maple Leafs. We keep saying, when are this team going to figure it out? And it's not this week, that's for sure. They're down a spot, 57 points, record of 24, 19 and 9 with a -6. No players at a point per game this week. 4 games, 4 losses. 1 in overtime against the Red Wings, but other than that, they've been woeful.
Yeah, they have, and look, they've played the Wild, the Red Wings, the Golden Knights, and the Avalanche. So it's not been an easy week for them by any stretch of the imagination. But certainly, with all of those games coming at home, that is really disappointing to come away with a singular point. Getting blasted by Colorado Avalanche on the glorious ITV4 as well, which was a good showing. Don't want to talk about the on-ice stuff as much as I want to talk about Willie Nylander flipping the camera off.
Paying
Why?
$5,000 to flip off the camera.
I mean, we know he's a bit of a rogue, don't we? He's got a bit of a maverick personality, but that was a surprising one to say the least. I assume it was something that he thought was funny for all of around 2.5 seconds, then realised, oh shit, I've just balls that one up massively.
Well, it was in he wasn't on the ice. Obviously, he's injured at the minute. He's a bit of a fragile warrior this year, it seems. But I think he was in the booth. I'm not sure who he was with or anything like that. Could probably be showing off in front of his friends, as what my grandma would say to me if I did something daft like that. I mean, this is it. We watch hockey where we allow fighting to a certain extent, and we have mics and people get into riffs and it's always swearing and chirping off at each other. This is a game where not for sensitive souls, so ultimately they are professional athletes, they are role models, and they shouldn't really be just swearing at the camera like that. But that being said, you're on a Maple Leafs team, we should be doing better. You're frustrated, you should be doing better, and $5,000 for that, I think it's a bit ridiculous for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably just frustrated that he still leads this team in scoring, and he's missed like 15 games at this point. Well, the next person behind him is Tavares, who's 4 points behind him and has played 15 games more than Nylander. So, he's been outstanding this year, but someone else just has to step up on this team, like, for the love of God. If this team wants to be a playoff team, you've got all these supposed stars and franchise, like you've got Leafs all-time top goal scorer in Austin Matthews, and just step up and put yourself into a position to make the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, this team's it's really weird. Like, Tavares for me is the captain of this team, right? And this is where it has that bit of a conundrum, because Matthews is their franchise player. They gave him the captaincy, but he's a bit of a silent captain. You don't see him scrappy. You don't see him fighting for anything. And yet he's got 42 points in 46 games, Austin Matthews. So it's not like he's having a really bad year. Like, for any other player, that would be a good year. But he's 4th in this team in scoring. He's not leading from the front. It doesn't seem to be driving this team forward. Nylander's the star, and he's out. It's just a mess in Toronto right now, and they're gonna self-combust if they're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powder keg of an organisation at the best of times, and I think especially if with Vegas looking at making the postseason, and Toronto were thrilled to have kicked Nylander out out of the team, and then if they end up missing the playoffs and he ends up going on a decent run with Vegas, they're all just going to look a bit daft.
Yeah,
But it's tough times for Toronto at the moment. But someone's going to have to step up and show their worth, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, 8th team in this division, the Ottawa Senators on 55 points. 55 points for a bottom place division team at this time of the season is ridiculous. We know what the issues with Ottawa has been recently. The goaltending's been shocking. We've had the renaissance of Jim Reimer coming back and starting games in the NHL. They've had a middling week, really. 5-5. Hey, that's the first time we've had something like that this week. So what do you think about the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, first and foremost, good to see Linus Ullmark, kind of back on the bench. Came back in that game against the Golden Knights, and was back up to Sogard in that game. So good to see him back from his kind of personal leave. But yeah, look, this team's kind of, they've fallen up. They've had to call Reimer up. He's probably sat on the couch at home. They've gone, you've still got your pads, right? Like you've still got your kit bag collecting dust. Do you want an NHL contract? And he's gone, oh shit, yeah, absolutely, yeah, of course I will. So yeah, they've brought him in. He's been okay. He looks like a goaltender who hasn't really played in like a year. But yeah, no playoffs for Ottawa for me. I think they've, like I said last week, I just think they kind of blew it, and I think kind of around the bottom of this division's where they're going to be.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean to say that they're a bad hockey team for me. This division is stacked in a sense. I still think the Central's the best division in terms of the best teams potentially at the top, but this division is so close. Like if they're in the Metro, playing the Metro schedule, I'd fancy them being in the playoffs easy, in the top 3 teams, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not been easy for them this year. They've had a lot of on ice issues. They've had a lot of off ice issues as well, and that's kind of taken its toll. But yeah, they're the victims of kind of things not going their way, but also being in a division where you don't really have much wiggle room for that. And if you fall apart a little bit, you'll find yourself right around the bottom, which is where they've shaken out.
Yeah. Right. We're going to go into our second segment here, and we're going to talk Stones of the Week. At this point, mainly for an incident that happened between the Florida Panthers and the San Jose Sharks. Did you catch this particular moment? Or
oh, I certainly did. Yeah, it's another big goalie week, but yeah, you go for it.
Yeah. So, what hasn't happened in the longest time is a goalie fight. So when one happens, you have to be sure to mention it. I think there was a bit of a scrum, Matt, behind the San Jose thing. I'm not sure whether it was sort of a bit of goaltender interference or somebody's run over Nedeljkovic or anything like that, but there's been a bit of chirping going off, and Nedeljkovic gets involved with the players down there, and then the camera just pans and you see Bobrovsky just sort of wobbling side to side, running down the ice. And yes, it's a goalie fight's really exciting and fun to watch. Then it's by no means a great fight. There's no Xhekaj or Zadorov involved here. They're full of pads, full of gear. I don't think any connection gets made, but it's just fun to see all the same.
Oh yeah, and I think the best thing about a goalie fight is it usually results in one of them having to make the decision that they're going to skate 200 feet down the ice, and they've got a lot of time during that period to just think about what's going to happen, and they still go, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And yeah, like you said, wasn't the world's greatest fight by any stretch of the imagination, but a goalie fight's a goalie fight. They're always a good laugh, and yeah, good pair of stones on the pair of them for deciding to drop the gloves,
drop
glove?
The stakes,
drop the layers, and go for it. So yeah, hats off to the pair of them.
it does feel like something like taboo in watching goaltenders go and fight. It should be like, no, this we shouldn't be allowed to enjoy this, but we are doing anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the term. You're on the ball today. You read my mind. Right, we're going to move out west then, going to the Central Division. I think no shocks here about who's the top of this division and still top of the standings. Colorado Avalanche, 79 points, so way out in front. 35, 6 and 9 now, so they have lost some games. Plus 76 in 50 games. Yeah, I mean, they've had a good win. I mean, they beat the Capitals 5-2, the Maple Leafs 4-1. They lost a shootout against the Ducks and they lost against their Flyers, but I still have no concerns.
No, they're like the quickest team to cover. Like, Colorado are awesome, McKinnon's awesome, Natchez is awesome, Brock Nelson's had an awesome week. He got the hat trick against the Maple Leafs. Only point of note: did you see in that game against the Maple Leafs? Did you see Brock Nelson break the camera in the goal on his first goal he had?
No, I didn't. Is that the same play as where they couldn't find where the puck was? Or am I thinking about something else?
I'm unsure. All I recall is that his first goal that he scored, he just broke the camera that was in the goal. So I'm sure the production company were thrilled at Brock Nelson there, but I'm sure he'll probably buy him a new one. But yeah, look, this team's awesome. They're on a road trip now with the Senators, the Habs, and the Red Wings. It'd be a tricky game. It'd be an interesting game that against Detroit in Detroit. So yeah, that'll be an interesting watch. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, this team's just rolling.
Yeah. Next, finally, the Minnesota Wild have overtaken the Dallas Stars. They've been dogfighting all year, neck and neck on the same amount of points. But upper spot, 68 points, 4 games played. 29, 14 and 10 on a plus 17. Again, still a bit of an up and down week for the Wild. They beat the Maple Leafs 6-3, then lost a frustrating game against the Canadiens 4-3. Bounced back well and beat the Red Wings overtime 4-3, but then lost 4-3 to the Panthers. So we're in every single game. Kaprizov's playing well. Hughes is fantastic. Tarasenko's scoring goals. So good times are still rolling in Minnesota.
Yeah, we've finally broken the deadlock. They've finally kind of leapfrogged the Dallas Stars. Yeah, look, man, they're a great team. Really, really good. A really good watch as well. Quinn Hughes has been an absolute revelation to that team. He's just fit in perfectly there. No kind of delays in his production at all. Yeah, he's just awesome. Love watching this Minnesota team. Can't wait to see how they do in the playoffs. Really looking forward to seeing what they do at the deadline, because I mean they're going to do something. Again, listening to Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, Jesper Wallstedt's name was being thrown out again. Don't know kind of what they do there. By all accounts, they are wanting a centre. I don't know. Could you see maybe like Wallstedt for O'Reilly? Maybe I don't know. Maybe you'd want something else back with that if you're giving up a future goaltender, maybe for someone on kind of more of a kind of more seasoned vet. But I don't know, that would make a lot of sense. But
it's a bubbling conversation. Like what I do know is we can't have 2 premium, like paying premium money goaltenders on one roster, because that's not great roster construction. We do have a glaring hole for me at centre, maybe also a winger as well. We could do with another winger, but I would expect a return to be fairly big, just because of the kind of player Wallstedt is. Names being passed out: Robert Thomas, Vincent Trocheck for the Rangers, which get out of here. Not a chance, but I'm not sure whether it's reassuring or not, but the word is that Wallstedt is getting looked at to being traded. They're not going to force anything and take a short deal that they see just because they want to get rid of him necessarily. It's not a problem. It's just, if there is a way to get back a great return for him, then why not consider it and look into it? Which Gives me a bit of confidence. So we touched on it last week about my thoughts about how when it comes to playoff hockey, like a very good first line centre will outweigh a backup goaltender or a second goaltender. So
100%. And you know what? That Rob Thomas wasn't a name that I'd heard been thrown around, and I know we collectively hate the Blues, but Rob Thomas is a decent player, you know, and is definitely something that, I mean, St. Louis would probably be reluctant to let him go, that's for sure. But you know, their biggest issue has been their goaltending. So, you know, someone like Wallstedt would solve a problem for them there obviously at the cost of losing Thomas. But I think he's got all the kind of all the attributes that you would need for playoff hockey. He's great in the face-off dot. You know, he's a good two-way forward. You know, can score, can defend. I would certainly prefer Thomas over Trocheck, that's for sure. Trocheck's kind of ass, but no, it'd be certainly one to keep an eye on. But all in all, another good week for Minnesota.
Yeah, good week for Minnesota. We'll maybe deep dive that any trade conversations when we sort of approach the deadline if they haven't happened already. But yeah, good week for the Wild. I'm a happy fan right now.
So you should be.
Yep. So Dallas Stars, as we mentioned, down a spot. They're on 67 points. It's weird how it's worked out.
Sorry about that.
So the Dallas Stars are in third place, down a spot. They're on an amount of points, a record of 29, 14 and 9 on a plus 28. They played 4, won 2, lost 2. So because they haven't lost one in overtime, that's why the Wild gets a jump on him, I think. So, but lost against the Lightning 4-1 and a really weird 1-0 loss to the Blue Jackets. Otherwise, it's been a good week for Dallas.
Yeah, and you know, this Central Division, I think that the playoff spots are set now. Still good performances from Dallas. It's you know, it's going to be a good fight to the finish for second, I think, with them and the Wild. And we're another week on without sort of any news on Jason Robertson. I think that might be something. I mean, the thing is, obviously, he's a restricted free agent, so they still kind of hold all the power, so to speak. Probably be something that they look at in the off season, but don't know if he keeps putting up points like he's putting them up. That dollar value is just going to keep creeping up. Yeah,
somebody will have the money to give him a lot of it. So, you reckon he'd go in division? Do you think
No, I don't think the Dallas Stars would let that happen. But my God, I would give a testicle for that to happen.
Oh, that is an NHL video game trade if I've ever seen one, or signing if I've ever seen one. Yeah, like you say, these division's playoff teams are set in terms of the top 3, and for me, I think there's only one team that's going to get through the wild card as well, which we'll talk about next. But so though this division's got good teams, Dallas is one of those good teams, but there's not much on the line really at the moment, so it's a very much wait to the playoffs.
Yeah, big time.
So the team for me that are likely going to be a wild card team, and that's pretty much exactly where they are, is the Utah Mammoth. Fourth in this division, 58 points, 27, 21 and 4, plus 20, plus minus. 3 games, 2 wins, one in overtime against the Flyers, beat the Predators 5-2, and then lost 2-0 last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a good team. Like, it's just not as good as the 3 above them.
Yeah, completely true. They are a good team. You know, I like them a lot. They're another team that are, you know, can be quite exciting to watch. Certainly, kind of offensively speaking. I think they're looking more and more kind of locked into that wild card space. I'd really enjoy that, and I know I've mentioned it kind of multiple times this season, but I'm just really glad to see the franchise kind of taking themselves seriously and wanting to be competitive. because God knows they haven't been sort of in the past when they were in Arizona. So yeah, really happy for them as an organisation and a franchise. I look forward to seeing potentially what they can do in the playoffs if they do get there. Obviously, they are quite a young team, but it'd be a good experience for them nonetheless. They've got the Panthers and the Hurricanes coming up on the road, and then they've got the Stars at home. So that's not going to be an easy kind of set of games for them, but they're games that they are fully capable of winning.
Yeah, I think this will be a one and done in the playoffs for me, but that is still progress, and they're an exciting team to watch. For Melker's stepping up big time, a goaltender who doesn't really get as much attention for the most part, or positive attention generally speaking, but he's having a very good year. This roster's balanced. The players are playing well, and they're getting good results, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
Now for me that there is a bit of a gap here, albeit by 6 points officially in the standings. The Nashville Predators are in 5th place, 24-23-4 record, and minus 26. 3 games, 1 win against the Senators 5-3, but losses against the Sabres and the Mammoth. See them dropping away a little bit from Utah. It's just a case of aging roster again. Same old conversations for the Predators.
Yeah, initially there I thought it said Asian roster, and I was like, huh? Aging roster. Got you.
Aging.
Yeah. They're, I don't know, 6 points off of Utah. Fortunately for them, I suppose, we're still seeing good production from O'Reilly, Stamkos, Forsberg, all guys that you think potentially could be on the move. Evangelista getting some more points as well, obviously, is great for him, in terms of their young players that they're developing. But, I think it's maybe becoming a bit more clear to Nashville that they'll probably be sort of sellers over buyers at the deadline, but they'll be maximising their returns, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
One thing of note, so UC Saros, he got pulled for the game against the Sabres, and all of his games this week he's been posting an 800 save percentage, and his stats don't show the level of play that he's played. I'm always seeing him running round his crease like an absolute madman, doing everything he can. He just can't do everything. So this is where some stats don't really can hide the quality of players. I really rate UC Saros as a goaltender. If he was on a different team, we'd be singing his plaudits, and I don't want to go so far as to say a Vezina candidate, but he's definitely better than what his stats show, and that's where I'll end that little rant.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he's maybe had a bit of a down year this year, but there's so much to factor into it. He does still keep them in a lot of games. He's been, the defense hasn't been great. So I know they've missed Roman Josi at times this year, but yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think he's someone who's better than his stats, suggest. I think.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on into this 6th place team in this division. And guess what? It is your Chicago Blackhawks. 50 points, up a spot now, 21-23-8 record, minus 23. This team's just weird, man. I'm telling you. They beat the Jets in a 2-0. They shut out the Jets. Spencer Knight does great. They then beat the Hurricanes in a shootout, lost to the Lightning in a shootout, and then get demolished by the Panthers. Well, scoreline-wise anyway. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know exactly how they played. But you said at the start that you were happy that they were in most of the games. So taking the Hurricanes and Lightning to the shootout must make you happy.
Yeah, two of the best coach teams in the league, and you can add Florida into that mix as well. To kind of play them all in the span of, of 3 days, or 4 days, but yeah, and look, seeing this week, Frank Saravalli, one of the hockey insiders, kind of saying that Chicago they're not kind of disillusioned by where they are. They're not going to let kind of where they're at this season and the improvement they've made kind of compromise the long-term plan. They probably will be sellers. Jason Dickinson, Connor Murphy, you fully expect will be on the move. You could potentially see someone like Ilya Mikheyev, even potentially someone maybe like Teuvo Teravainen. Nick Foligno's name's been mentioned, but I would be incredibly surprised if in any world Nick Foligno got traded. Obviously, he's the captain of this team, and not someone who I could see kind of being on the move. But the one thing I will say is this, and the Blackhawks, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, but that overtime loss against the Lightning got them to 50 points on the season at game 50. Do you care to take a guess at how many games it took the Blackhawks to get to 50 points last season?
Did they get to 50 points last year?
They did. Yeah.
Just. I was going to say 78.
71. So they've reached 50 points in the standings in 21 fewer games this year than they did last year. Now, if that's not a sign of improvement, I don't know what is. Massive credit to Jeff Blashill. He's come in and really sort of established a culture, and this is a team as well that went a month without Frank Nazar, a month without Connor Bedard, and a lot of the young guys have been. Spencer Knight has been outstanding this season. Wyatt Kaiser's looked good. Alex Vlasic's been played well out, and Levshinov's come into the league, and he has struggled at times, but really has had some moments of absolute brilliance. And Ryan Green and Oliver Moore and Nazar getting his first full season and everything. So it's all really exciting. And I think post trade deadline at the conclusion of the Swedish Hockey League season, I believe that Anton Frondell will be coming across to Chicago and playing out the rest of the year here, I think. So that'll be exciting to see. Really looking forward to seeing kind of how he beds into the team. Obviously, the third overall pick from this year's draft.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting times. Progress is being made. You're playing some decent hockey. You've had a couple of injuries this year, which has kind of derailed a bit of momentum at times. But I think this is a team on the turnaround, and it's exciting. I'm excited for you. Good vibes.
Yeah, I imagine going out and adding Jason Robertson to that, though. Ugh. Christ.
Yeah, a line of Bedard, Robertson, and insert. It's kind of like you think of like Edmonton, and obviously they split up the Draisaitl and McDavid lines. I'm not saying you should do that, but you could have Nazar, Frondell on a line, Bedard, Robertson on another line, fill in the Bertuzzi's, Burakovsky's, Teravainen, like mixing them in there. You could get some really spicy.
That'd be unreal. That's the dream trade for me. That's the dream acquisition. I think is someone like Jason Robertson. At his age and everything. And I think that they've certainly got the if there was any world where Dallas would entertain that, I think if there's a team that has the resources to pull it off, it's probably Chicago.
He'd look good in a Blackhawks uniform as well.
Certainly would.
Right, we'll move on before you get too excited. 7th place in this division. One of the biggest sad stories of the league this year is the Winnipeg Jets. 47 points. They actually moved off the bottom of this division. Record of 20, 24 and 7. -9, which is actually not too bad looking at it. But again, they just can't seem to win a game. Hellebuck's playing really well, but they lost 2-1 against your Blackhawks. They beat the Blues 3-1, which, the Blues suck. They lost to the Panthers in a shootout and then got smashed by the Red Wings 5-1. So I still can't get my head around this team, because you watch them and they play okay. They just lose games. I just don't know.
Yeah, no, neither. They're a bit of an enigma. They've just not had it this year, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens kind of over the summer, if they decide to kind of tear it down a little bit, or I'm not really too sure, but not been a good season for them at all, and I think they've probably got one eye on next season already, I imagine.
Yeah, I hope they don't just blow it to smithereens, because I can see them having a disappointing year. They sack the coach, trade a few players, people leave because of the natural turnover, and they just lose. It was always cool seeing Winnipeg doing well, because, again, they're not like a big market franchise, so it's always good to see when a sort of smaller market team do well. But if they blow it up and they're not the same team, and they've had their window and it's shut clearly in their face, then it'll just be a bit bittersweet. But I can't complain. Minnesota are in the playoffs, and Chicago are on the up, so we can't have everything we want in life.
No. This is true.
Yeah, but Hellebuck not in the playoffs is shocking for me. Like, it should be a goaltender of his caliber should be in there.
Yeah, absolutely should.
Right. We'll move on then into the last team in this division, down 2 spots, also on 47 points now. It's the St. Louis Blues, and this is a team in with the Rangers for me, and the Canucks, which we'll go on to, where I've just got no time for them. 4 games this week, they've lost every single one. They did get a point from the Kings in for the shootout, but they're just not inspirational at all. Binnington's rubbish, Hoffa's rubbish. Yeah.
They suck shit, Nathaniel.
They suck shit, and I don't know what more. Did you want to talk about anything more about them?
No, that was kind of the epitome of my conversation.
Yeah, cool. Games against the Stars, Panthers, and Blue Jackets. Anyway, next, we're going to go to play of the week now, and we're going to break the rules a little bit here, simply because it's our podcast and we can do what we want. We generally try to obviously keep the plays or cheats of the week to something that happens in the week of the podcast that we're talking about. But as the great hockey fans we are, we missed a great play last week, which should have been play of the week. So we're going to move it into this week. Tim Stützle, I know he's on your fantasy team. He's a good player for the Ottawa Senators. He's made an absolute worldie of a play, which will be on highlight reels on YouTube for the end of time.
Yeah, he's picked the puck up kind of along the boards, skated his way in, and then he's gone between the legs and fired the puck up over the shoulder of Montembeault. Hit the roof of the net on the way in. Absolutely unbelievable. Like, just an absolute unbelievable piece of skill, and I mean, my brain couldn't even work fast enough to even sort of comprehend that. So yeah, absolutely massive from him. Really, really impressive from Tim Stützle. Great play.
And I'm sure you know this. I think any self-respecting person knows this. Like when you're in the kitchen tidying up or something like that, and you throw something across the kitchen, or you do something that you just don't think, you just do a silly thing where you throw it between your legs and it lands perfectly, or you throw something across the room and it lands in the bin first time or something like that, and you look around desperately to see if anybody's seen it, and of course nobody ever does, and people think you're lying. I'm sure that happens to everyone, or not just me, but that's essentially what Tim Stützle's done. He's just done something I don't even think he's thought about. He's just done it, and then lucky devil he is. He's had it caught on camera.
Honestly, mate, my highlight reel of stuff that I've done that only I've seen is like untold. The amount of like unbelievable kitchen-based trick shots with an apple core or whatever whatever item it is that I've thrown. I've just got I can't believe no one was here to see that. That would have been awesome.
You know what, Matt? I see you. I know that happened. I'm proud of you. Like, really well done. Like, I can't believe you did all of those things.
Thanks,
like,
man. That's the validation
incredible.
I needed.
Yeah. Like, we've got to stick together through times like these.
Right. Final division.
And the last division is the Pacific Division, the worst division in hockey for me. First up, Golden Knights. Yep, they're reverting almost back to the Vegas Golden Nuggets. How a team atop a division can lose 3 games and still be top, I don't know. But 25, 14 and 12 is their record on a plus 10. They lost to Flyers 2-1. They lost to the Bruins 4-3. They lost to the Senators 7-1. They did beat the Maple Leafs 6-3 though, but Aiden Hill's returned. It's still not very good, really.
No, terrible. I still don't know how this team is out on top of the division. They opened up a gap like last week and then proceeded to close it a week later. So, disappointing, strange, odd, not really sure what to make of it. They've got the Habs on the road, the Stars at home, the Kraken at home, and then the Ducks on the road after that. So, I really don't know kind of what kind of week this team's going to have now. I still think they're playoff bound. I still think that they'll have a good shot at winning this division, but god damn it, they're making it hard on themselves.
It's just annoying. Like when you're this kind of team, just go out and smash everyone. Like when you make the trades, you don't care about the personal difficulties, shall we say, of certain players and the cheating of the system, it seems, and they're trading for players left, right and centre, and they're still making a meal out of it. But you know, when it comes to the playoffs, they'll win a few series and go far, and they'll just be the same team as they always are. So anyway, move on next into the second place team, Edmonton Oilers. They're on 62 points as well now, so they're definitely in there. They played 5 games this week, the Oilers. They've won 3. It's a 5 and it's not a 5 and 5, Nathaniel. It's a 6 in 10, or 6 points out of 10 because they beat the Capitals in overtime. I'm wittering on now. What do you think about the Oilers?
Yeah, bit of a mixed week for them. A couple of, certainly that loss against the Devils they'd want back, but they got that shutout victory against the Blues, fought for an overtime victory against the Capitals. Great win against the Ducks. Evan Bouchard, as much as we criticise him, did have a great week offensively. He went on an absolute tear. He got 8 points on the week. McDavid got 7 points on the week. Draisaitl got 7 points on the week. So again, it's kind of same old with Edmonton. We know what they can do offensively, but they do get let down defensively at times. But nevertheless, they're up tied top of this division, kind of playing well at the moment. And another team who I think are destined for the playoffs.
Yeah, hat tricks for Bouchard and a hat trick for Ekholm as well. Weird, but they're offensive juggernaut. They're top player. McDavid's on 92 points in 54 games. For goodness sake, Draisaitl's on 74. Bouchard's a point per game player. So it's these two teams. I'm not a fan of either of them really, but they're going to the playoffs, and no doubt they'll knock off our teams that we actually really like.
Yeah.
We'll move on into the third place in this division, which is the returning Anaheim Ducks. Now, this is a team I want to upset everybody in this division. They're on 59 points, so despite the fragilities we've talked about, they're only 3 points off the top again. Moved up 2 spots. They had a 4-game sort of winning streak, beating the Avalanche, the Rangers 5-3, beat the Avalanche in a shootout, the Kraken 4-2, the Flames in overtime 4-3. They then lost against the Oilers 7-4. It was a crazy second period where every shot was going in. Better goaltending by Dostal in general, but they're still just very leaky defensively. But they moved up.
Yeah. They're up there. They're within 3 points of the top of the division. Really good kind of bounce back to form. Obviously, getting that shootout victory against the Avalanche, massive. The overtime victory against the Flames as well. They probably wouldn't have wanted to go to overtime against the Flames, but at least when they did, they went there and won it. And the loss against the Oilers, like you said, was just crazy. But yeah, good goaltending performance from Dostal this week. A bit more kind of along the lines, I think, of what they were expecting when they signed him to that deal. So good for Anaheim. Glad to see them back up there. And hopefully they can stay put.
Yeah, because they're the only hope we've got. No, having said that, the San Jose Sharks are in 4th place. They're on 55 points. They're hanging around, but they beat the Panthers 4-1 and the Rangers 3-1, but lost to the Lightning 4-1 as well. So I like the Sharks. I can't really take them seriously just yet in terms of any decent playoff hockey. But yeah, they are what they are.
Yeah, they are, and I think they're very entertaining. Don't get me wrong; they're very entertaining, very good vibes. When everything clicks, they look really, really good. I just don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're a million miles off, and they could well be a team that make the playoffs next season. I just don't see it this year. Decent week for Misa and Smith both being at a point per game. So good for them. And they've got that that Canadian road trip coming up. The Canucks, the Oilers, the Flames, all on the road. So we'll kind of see how they shake out there. That'll be an interesting game against the Oilers. Obviously, Celebrini versus McDavid. That'll be mega. But they're a good laugh.
Yeah, they're the wildcard team. Wildcard guy you meet at the bar is just like a bit of fun for the night. You talk about sports and past heroics and stuff like that, and then you leave and then you forget all about it. But you think about them from time to time, like, oh yeah, remember the Sharks team from 2026? Yeah, they did all right, didn't they? Yeah. I can't actually remember any details about it, but I remember some good times with the Sharks in that season. Anyway. Oh dear. Right, 5th place in this division is the two teams. This division sucks, man. Honestly, up once. LA Kings also on 55 points. Things with the Kings, they were meant to play the Blue Jackets last night, but the game got postponed due to winter weather in LA, so that game's now been moved to March. So they only played 2 games this week, and they did win both. They beat the Rangers 4-3 and then the Blues in a shootout 5-4. But by God, they're just a boring team again. They're almost like the next team we're going to be talking about. Yeah,
they kind of bore me to tears a little bit. The LA Kings. I appreciate the style of hockey that they want to play, but yeah, they're just not entertaining for me at all. They beat the Rangers, they beat the Blues, pretty much 2 of the worst teams in hockey, so kind of games you would expect them to win if they've got aspirations of doing what they want to do. They've got the Red Wings, the Sabres, and the Flyers, and the Hurricanes all coming up, so that's going to be not going to be an easy feat by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm sure they'll do what they do best and try and suck the life out of the game as much as humanly possible.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Same with the Seattle Kraken. They're down 3 spots, the Kraken. 55 points again as well, so really close in this division, but on a -11. They played 4, 1-2, lost 2. They beat the Islanders 4-1 and the Devils 4-2, but lost against the Penguins 6-3 and the Ducks 4-2. So as much as the games look quite exciting, but there's no players at a point per game. They've scored.
Or even close.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't understand it. Like, they've scored 13 goals. Okay, so 13 plus 26 assist points potentially, and they don't have a player at 4 points. Right. Okay, it might
Depth.
show like they've got a good balanced roster. They've got great mediocre depth.
Yeah,
it's just
and the Kraken are they're a fine team. They are just fine. They're pretty. They can beat some teams on their night. They can lose to teams on their night. But they just don't do a great deal for me. I like them as an organisation in terms of what they stand for and everything they do off the ice. I think they're one of the best in the league at that. But the on-ice product is a little bit turgid at times.
It is like Noah's Ark, this division. You got the 2 teams on top who are the teams we expect to do well, but everyone kind of hates anyway, just because for their own reasons. But they're just unlikable teams. You then got the 2 toddler teams who are still in nappies, who shit themselves on occasion, but are actually a good time to be around in the Ducks and the Sharks. You then got the middle-aged grey man syndrome, boring Kraken and Kings teams who you just, they're nice people and you sort of get on with them, but you just don't want to spend any time on them because they're boring. And then the next 2 teams we're going to talk about who are absolute disasters, who are always having crises one way or the other, they just can't get anything right. So it's like 2 by 2 by 2 this division.
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I think we can potentially lump these last two teams in together. I mean, I know there is like a 9 point gap separating them, but the Calgary Flames in seventh position on 48 points, 21, 25, and 6 on the season on a minus 24. 4 games played, 4 games lost, albeit 2 in overtime, so they do pick up a couple of bonus points there. Yeah, again, blunt. Obviously, Anderson's gone. You kind of fully expect that they're probably going to make some other bits happen trade wise. I think that'll probably happen after the Olympic break. Now I don't think they're in any sort of particular rush. And then the Vancouver Canucks, who did miraculously pick up a victory, but yeah, they're just a sad state of affairs, aren't they? They beat the Capitals 4-3, but lost to the Islanders 4-3, the Devils 5-4, and the Penguins 3-2. So 1 game losses, but losses nonetheless. And they've got 30 losses in regulation on the season now and a minus 52 goal differential. So, rough for them. No players at a point per game for Vancouver. No players at a point per game for Calgary. Nathaniel?
You've just summed it up perfectly. Believe it, these are my two probably favourite teams from this division as a whole, but this year it's just been turgid. It's been horrible experience. It's just, especially if you're a UK fan, what you're watching these teams play at 3 a.m. Like 3 to 6 a.m. is when you want to catch a Calgary or Vancouver game, which is not selling the sport absolutely in the slightest. So, no. Yeah, it's a real shame, I guess. But yeah, Noah's Ark ends on a sour note. Maybe they should have pulled the plank up sooner.
Do we want to do our season, or our weekly and season totals first, or do we want the Tankathon tank spin first? Take your pick.
We'll do the weekly summary of points before we do the Tankathon. So in terms of the point scorers this week, Kucherov with 10, Kaprizov with 9, and Bouchard and Pasternak with 8 lead the scoring this week. With Caulfield with 5 goals for the Canadiens. His name's shown up there a few times. Penalty box perspective award, penalty minutes. Another name I'm going to butcher here. Podkolzin.
Yeah, perfect. Vasily Podkolzin. Brilliant.
Vasily Podkolzin. Whoa, 19 minutes he spent in the penalty box this week with AJ Greer and Dawson Mercer with 17. So yeah, fairly standard week. No real great shakes with really high points or really high minutes, really.
No, and that leaves for the season, leaves McDavid out ahead on 92 points, McKinnon on 88, Kucherov on 80, he's Leapfrog Celebrini. Leapfrogged? I don't know. McKinnon still leads the Richard conversation with 38 goals, McDavid with 33, and Jason Robertson with 30 goals as well. With Nikita Zadorov still out in front with 121 penalty minutes for the Penalty Box Perspective Award, with Kostelic on 104 and Jack-High on 102. So not much movement there from any of them. But kind of business as usual in the standings, I think, as far as they go.
Yeah, so Jack-High didn't have a single minute in the box this week, so he must have been injured.
Good boy.
Good boy. Right. Who's tanking this week then? We've got to be better than
Let me
last
just
week.
hit the spin. The tank standings brought to you by tankathon.com. Not sponsored, but hey, hop on board. Ooh. Okay, so taking the first overall pick, jumping up 2 spots, is the Winnipeg Jets. Taking the second overall pick, jumping up 4 spots, is the Chicago Blackhawks. Taking the third overall pick, dropping down 2 spots, is Vancouver, with St. Louis in 4th, Calgary in 5th, the Rangers in 6th. I'll take that all day.
In the Central.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what this league needs. I'll take that all day long. Happy days. Another success. Well, a way better tank spin than the one we had last week. That was absolutely bloody awful.
Yes, absolutely right. Sign us off, Matt. Let's go.
As always, guys, you can find us on both X and Instagram at No, you can't. You can find us on X and Instagram at the PBP Podcast. You can also get in touch with us on Gmail at penaltyboxperspective@gmail.com if you've got any thoughts or feelings on the show and you want to, give us any thoughts, feedback, or suggestions, or anything along those lines. You can also catch the podcast in audio format on YouTube as well. You can also go and like and subscribe there as well. If you do get a moment, please do consider giving us a 5-star review. We've got some exciting things coming up, some changes being made to the podcast, hopefully some guests if coming up, if everything kind of moves correctly, and some exciting things coming up in the pipeline that you'll definitely want to stick around for. So thanks as always for being on the ride with us, guys, and until the next time.